What would you call this thing? The first word that comes to your mind. What is it? Of course, Band-Aid. But what does this actually say? Absorbent adhesive dressing. Because you know why? Band-Aid was originally trademarked by Johnson & Johnson. And when it was trademarked, people couldn't just use it. You couldn't just put it on a Band-Aid that you produce because it was owned by Johnson & Johnson. Now Band-Aid is genericized, which means you can use it. But companies still avoid using it because it's associated with Johnson & Johnson. If you want to learn how other brand names and trademarks became nouns and where they come from, continue watching this video. A couple days ago, on a chilly day like this, I was sitting here in San Francisco on a balcony walking with Emily, and I realized it's so cold outside and my cup of tea was already cold, so I need to get a vacuum flask, or as I called it back then, 2 days ago, I called it a thermos. And I went on Amazon and I started looking for a thermos, and I realized there aren't many options, and I'm getting just products made by a company called Thermos. And I was like, wow, and this is, by the way, how the idea of this video came to my mind. And I was like, wow, is it really a company? Because I thought it was a generic term. And I started researching. Turns out Thermos is a company, Thermos LLC, and they trademarked the word thermos back in 1904. But then, because people started using it over and over again, because other companies wanted to use it because they produce similar goods, it was generalized, so it was made generic term in the 1960s. And Americans would actually use a term vacuum flask to talk about this thing that preserves heat or cold. Some of them would use thermos, but it's rare, but it's still usable. So yeah, now you know how I came up with the idea of this video, and now you know how to call thermos the other way. Okay, what's that? How do you call it? Let's look at one hint. What does this say? Spa jets. But a lot of you guys would call this Jacuzzi, which is pretty valid because a company that produces hot tubs with jets is called Jacuzzi. But that's not the only company that does hot tubs. So if you're in the US, most of people would use the word hot tub to describe what's behind me right now. Do you know where Jacuzzi comes from? So Italian brothers, and Italians, you know how to read the name that's on the screen right now? Jacuzzi. Did I do it right? But Americans did everything their own way, and they read Jacuzzi as Jacuzzi, and this is where the word comes from now. So Jacuzzi started producing hot tubs for homes, for apartment complexes, but yeah, here we go. Now we call all hot tubs Jacuzzis. In various countries, like in my country, we would only say Jacuzzi, we wouldn't say hot tub. In the US, you would still say hot tub, but some countries would say Jacuzzi as well. Popsicle. Remember Katy Perry's song, California Girls Will Melt Your Popsicle? Do you know where it comes from? It is actually a trademarked name. It actually comes from a Unilever-owned company called Popsicle, and it originates back in 1905 when an 11-year-old boy left a cup of soda with a stick in it overnight outside his house, only to realize that in the morning he had a popsicle, basically something that is frozen on a stick. This is how the name was invented by the company and later acquired by Unilever, so Unilever owns this trademark. Realtor. Oh my god, you would never ever guess that this is also a brand. There's a National Association of Realtors, and they actually own this trademark, and a realtor is somebody who belongs to this group. If you don't belong to that group, you're a real estate agent, you're not a realtor, because realtor is a trademark name. So instead of saying realtor, make sure that you're complying with all the regulations and say real estate agent. Something interesting is going on right here. So basically, aspirin is a trade name that was invented by Bayer, and this is the original one. But if we look Next to it, we see Aspirin by Walgreens. And you would say, Marina, but you just mentioned that you cannot use a trademark if you produce something similar. Yes, you can't, but Aspirin is a trademark owned by Bayer everywhere in the world, but not in the United States. In the United States, Aspirin is a generic name, so anyone who produces aspirin can use this name on their packaging. Wow. You realize what's going to happen right now. Spam. Spam. It's not your mail folder. It's originally a name of a brand, and this brand is owned by Hormel Foods, and they produce meat, canned meat. So basically they started producing it back in 1940s, and as any American company, they wanted to come up with an ad that would stick. And there was like a British sketch where people came to a restaurant and spam was on every menu item. They even added spam to actors' names, and in total spam was pronounced like 140 times in that ad, and it really stuck with people, and people saw spam everywhere. And this is how the spam folder got its name, because sometimes you get spammed by useless emails. And yeah, but originally this is a brand name. Wow. By the way, guys, if you enjoy learning English with me, if you enjoy the approach to English that is attached to real life, that uses real life examples, then I would recommend you to join our course that is called From Intermediate to Advanced in 30 days. That means that in 30 days, we're gonna talk about topics that you need in order to become advanced in your English. And I talk about this course with pride and joy, because over 10,000 students have already taken this course, and we got a Net Promoter Score of 93%, which means 93% of students would recommend this course to their friends. And I'm so proud, as a founder of a company that sells this course, as a creator of the course myself. I just love how people react to it, and I love that I can provide value to you guys. We're starting the next batch really soon. The link will be below. You can attend these classes from anywhere in the world because they're online. You just use your smartphone, use your computer. They are pre-recorded, so you can enjoy them in any time zone at any time of the day that is convenient for you. Also, after every class, you will have interactive tasks, and you will also have a live stream to ask all the questions that you have in mind. The link will be below, and so that you don't forget what this video was about, the promo code is Jacuzzi, or if you say in Italian, Jacuzzi, for $20 off the next batch. The link is below. Please join, and I will see you during that course. Imagine that I want to create a copy of a document and I just came from Russia to the US. You know what I would say? I would say, where can I make a Xerox? I would even say like Xerox, something like that. Because in many countries in the world, instead of saying, can I make a photocopy? People say, can I make a Xerox? Because Xerox is a company that has originally started to produce printers and machines that can make photocopies. But in the US, the word Xerox is not widely used. Yes, I guess some people would understand you if you tell them, hey, excuse me, I'm looking for a Xerox. But they would normally say to print something out, to make a photocopy, and never to Xerox something. Because again, Xerox is a company that produces those types of devices. Instead of saying lip balm, a lot of people say chapstick, and chapstick is actually a brand. So the correct way, the noun is lip balm, but the brand is Chapstick. Instead of saying a marker or a highlighter, a lot of Americans say Sharpie. But Sharpie is actually a brand, a very popular brand. That's why its name became a noun in the English language. When I was preparing for this video, I didn't even know that this item has a completely different name. I thought that Post-it is like a generic name that everybody uses, but I found out that Post-it is actually a brand, and this is like it's called a sticky note, but everybody calls it Post-it because of the brand. Another one, like seriously, bubble wrap. I wouldn't even think of another name, like bubble wrap, and that's it. But this word is trademark, and it was trademarked back in 1960s by a company that produced it. And if you want to be correct, you would say air bubble packaging. Long and boring, but bubble wrap is trademarked. The next two are super easy, and you use them all the time, every day. Google to Google something, to look for something, Sergey Brin, I adore you, you're amazing. Sergey is the co-founder of Google. And another one is Photoshop. And a verb to Photoshop almost replaced the verb to edit, because whenever we see a photo that has been worked on, we say, oh my god, it's so photoshopped, instead of saying, oh my god, it's edited out or whatever, because we assume that every photo that is edited in Photoshop. However, I use Lightroom for all my editing, but we never say Lightroom. So Adobe, the company who owns Photoshop, owns the brand, is really, really happy because, you know, the brand went viral. And this is one of our goals with Lingua trip. Ideally, I want people to say, I'm going on a lingua trip, instead of saying, I'm going on a language course somewhere abroad. So yeah, this is a goal, to make lingua trip a generic term. Coca-Cola. Americans refer to this drink as Coke, but it's actually cola, because it is produced from a certain plant, it has certain features, so the non-trademark name is cola. But then Coca-Cola started producing cola, and this is how billions of people learned about this drink. So a lot of people, instead of calling anything that is cola, cola, they call it Coke, because this is differed from the name of a brand. Vaseline is actually a trademark. It's now owned by Unilever, but it was registered by a guy who actually created this substance from mineral oils. Robert Chesbrough actually invented this thing. This is like a mineral oil blend. He registered the trademark Vaseline and later sold it to Unilever. And I'm amazed that in many countries, like in the country where I come from, there is no other word for this substance. You wouldn't call it like mineral oil substance or whatever. People call it Vaseline, but because it's a trademark owned by Unilever, if you produce something similar and name it like Vaseline, linguamarina or whatever, Unilever can come and sue you or ask you to pay them dividends because you're using their trademark. And this is so amazing how brands actually penetrate our lives. So yeah, Vaseline is actually a trademark. Kleenex. Kleenex is a brand earned by Kimberly-Clark Company, and yes, it produces tissues. And a lot of people in America, instead of saying, could you give me a tissue please, they would say, give me a Kleenex, because whenever you go in the US, like if I'm at my doctor's office and they have tissues, they will be from Kleenex. Like again, I adore this brand because they're everywhere, and people started using their trademark name as a generic noun. So whenever you're asking for tissue, you can say, could you give me a Kleenex, and people would understand. Ping pong is the way Americans call table tennis, and ping pong is actually a trademark name. And I was really surprised because when I came to the US in 2015, we had a ping pong table in 500 Startups office, and I would say table tennis because in the UK people would say table tennis, but in the US people are used to calling it ping pong because there was a company back in 1901 that has created this game and named it ping pong, and people started using this term. Oh, and talking about games and toys, yo-yo and Frisbee are also trademarked names, but we use them as nouns in our everyday lives. What would you call this? I would occasionally call it a memory stick, but guess what? Memory stick is a trademarked name, and it is owned by Sony. You can call it either USB flash drive, but this is a different thing. So this would be a USB flash drive. However, this doesn't have a USB anymore. This is like a USB-C, which is a new version of USB used by MacBook Pros and other things in the market. And you can call it memory card. But if you call it memory stick, then it is owned by Sony, because Sony has invented this format and they trademarked the name. Escalator is a trademark owned by Otis, the company that produces elevators and, guess what, escalators. But because escalator is a trademark, the other way you can call it is moving staircase or moving stairway. By the way, guys, if I forgot to mention some brand that is used as a noun in your country, please comment down below and let me know. It will be really exciting to learn about what's going on in your country. That was was it from me, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video up to the very end. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to hit the like button. If you're not yet subscribed to this channel, the red button is below. I'm producing a lot of videos where I teach you English in a fun way, and I teach you random facts about the English language that I admire as well. And if you're a non-English native speaker and you want to improve your language, I'm looking forward to seeing you in my next batch of intermediate to advanced online course where I'm going to teach you English in a fun way. The link will be below, and I will see you really soon in the next videos. Bye!